Okay.
Hello? Hey guys.
Hello. We have chat pulled up on the side. I should mute the stream once it's pulled up.
Yeah, you should. Oh.
Oh.
Whoa! Whoa! Okay, this
That's
will also be a good way of seeing if there's lag or like a delay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, hey guys, what's going on?
What is up, Rap Battle fans? It's me and me.
Yeah, and me.
And him.
And me. What's up, guys? How's it going, everybody? Let's get the show on the road. Yeah, we'll give it a minute for people to start crawling in, and then we can talk about what we're going to be doing here.
We should do. Oh, we should have a cover ready.
No, it's fine.
Okay, we're not doing a cover.
We
never
already
mind.
had.
We already did that bit last time.
We had our moment.
No, it's not as funny the second time.
Well, yeah. So, what's up, everybody?
Hey, hi, and hello, everyone.
I guess in the meantime, if anyone has any questions or anything, we could just answer those real quick while we give it like a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone gets one question. Try 2 times speed again? We're not gonna do that.
Yeah, no, we're good.
We're not gonna be able to do it. Someone better will. We won't. Cause we're. No, it's the end of the sentence.
Alright.
Let us know if the stream's running well. If there's any issues or anything.
How are you guys doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little I'm a little like sluggish. My brain's a little slow, but it's fine. I think I'll be good. I'm a bit energized.
We went to a comic shop.
Yeah, we did go to a comic shop. It's pretty cool.
Where are y'all at?
Place. We're in a hotel room.
We're in a hotel room.
In California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In Santa Monica.
Somewhere, yeah.
I'm Don Tire XQZ.
XQZ.
I think he meant to say XQC.
XQZ.
But you said it with the beef.
I mean, I'm not keeping up with it, but there's no.
I don't even know what he's talking
there's
about.
I'm vaguely aware that I'm Dante made like a diss track on XQC. I'm not following that. I don't care. But I don't think there's ever a universe where I could be convinced to side with XQC on anything. So I think I'd have to go with I'm Dante.
Mm-hmm. What are we debating? So we have like 5 little rap battle topics that we agreed upon beforehand.
Yeah.
We're gonna we picked our sides. These are not like our 100% like guaranteed takes.
Yeah.
But these are just more so like we pick the side that I think we would be better at arguing, so they're relatively close to our actual opinions.
Yeah.
But speaking generally, we are gonna be there. This is not like we're doing this more for the sake of conversation than like these are locked in. Absolutely,
it's just for fun. It's for sport.
Opinions.
Yeah, it's just to see like how convincing of an argument we can make towards a specific side. And
Exactly.
You know, I'm not really gonna say anything. Okay. Hey guys, what's up? My name's Disgamer. Welcome to my stream. Did the mic just get terrible? I don't know. We might have issues. Oh, the fan comes back around. The mic clips. Is the AC too loud or
Is the AC loud?
I don't know, someone's saying the mic got terrible and then every time the fan comes back around the mic clips.
We can turn it off. It
Yeah.
could also be that the mic is plugged into this laptop, which is a little more. Turned down all the way. There we go.
Hey guys.
Bang. Pow.
Yeah, what's up? Let us know if this is better, and if it still sucks we can turn the AC off and die of heat.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
Alright, we're just fuck the mic. The microphone doesn't really matter anyway.
Yeah.
We just have to make sure we're talking loud.
Well, look, they need to give us some.
Yeah, we need to catch up.
We're still on muted microphone, gamer.
Did Gamer get a haircut? No.
No, I think they're talking about me.
Oh.
Okay. It's better?
Is the iPhone mic better than this one? I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
I mean,
This one's like, there's like a weird USB thing going on with this one. Yeah. I'm freezing out. It's freezing outside. I feel my skin tight. My coat is inside, but I look up at you. You know what I'm referencing?
no.
What?
No, I'm sorry.
This guy sucks.
I do suck. I'm pretty bad.
All right. I think enough people. I think we got enough people.
What
to,
is the
to,
count? What's the count?
26.
26.
26.
Who's your...
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not towards us. Okay.
Yeah. They're not talking to us. They're never talking to
They don't
us.
give a shit about us.
They don't give a shit about us. All right, so here's what's happening. Re-explanation. What we're doing today is we're doing a quick debate night. We got 5 topics.
Yeah.
We've each picked a side. These are not like our 100% like always opinions. We're just picking it for the sake of having the conversation for a couple of these.
Yeah.
But I mean, we picked the side that we agree with more, and we are gonna just have a quick little chat back and forth about it.
Yeah.
So
We'll be figuring out the structure as we go along. We have an idea about how it's going to be, but we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants, so bear with us.
he is. I've got it all planned out.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean me? Okay, whatever.
All right. So should we just get into it?
I mean, I see no reason why not to. We might as well.
All right. Sounds good. Let's go to Google, and then I can flip the coin and do a coin flip to see who starts first.
Okay.
Okay, never mind. This AC is cold. I'm turning it off.
Okay.
I thought it wouldn't be this cold. I regret it now. Okay. Flip a coin. Okay. Heads or tails? Go.
Tails.
Alright, you go first.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna set up our first topic, which is that the first topic for tonight will be that we should change the label of this community from FRB to something else. Okay, and I'm typing it out so I can put it.
You can't hit cancel.
Did it? Oh, I didn't hit save, did I?
You hit it, yeah, you're supposed to hit it.
Whatever. So he's gonna argue that we should keep the name.
Keep the name.
And I'm gonna argue we
Okay.
should change it.
I'm excited. I haven't done a good fashion debate like this since high school.
Me neither. It's been a bit since I've done like a... So the way I had this in mind is that we're gonna get 5 minutes, at least to start, to just state our like opening, I guess, argument.
Okay, 5 minutes might be a bit much, but I do tend to yap, so who knows, maybe I'll use... Is
So
it 5 minutes each? Or
Yeah,
is it
5 minutes each.
Okay.
Let me figure out how to split this correctly on screen. That looks good.
That's fine.
Okay. How's that looking on stream? Everything still good?
Yeah.
Which one of us would win in a fight?
Probably gamer.
Probably me.
Yeah, but it'd be close.
It would be close.
It'd be close.
I guess.
We're kind of we were both.
He
scrawny.
thinks it'd be close.
Yeah, it would be close. We did fight, remember?
That is true. We do
And
fight.
You were exhausted.
That's okay. Whatever. don't get me started. Okay. So I have
This
a
is a
timer
real
for
debate.
5 minutes. And then as soon as I click start, you can just start arguing your point.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. And go.
Hello, everyone. So, the current topic is that we should change FRB's name to something else. FRB, for those who don't know, stands for Fan-Made Rap Battles, and is generally the alias that we as a community use to describe ourselves. Now, the first thing that I think warrants mention is that historically, it doesn't really fucking matter what we call ourselves because the general public does not know and does not care, meaning that any change we make renders it utterly pointless. I mean, people still call us ERB knockoffs. I saw a Fight Marker battle get called an AVA. Like, people don't know anything about what we do or what we call ourselves outside of, like, die-hard fans. And at that point, it really doesn't even matter what the die-hard fans refer to us as, because we're on the same page, we know what it is, and we already have the name FRB, and it pretty much sticks. Now, a lot of people in this argument are quick to say, oh, fan-made rap battles, that's a very limiting label, because it comes from a place of us feeling like we are just fan-made derivatives of ERB and that we will never surpass it, when a lot of newer rap battle fans aren't even that familiar with ERB anymore, which is crazy, but believe me, it's true, and are discovering the genre through the fan-made community's contributions. And what I would say to that is the fan-made label does not necessarily mean ERB fan-made. What we are doing is we make rap battles with characters. It's fan content. It is inherently fan-made no matter what we do. And as a result, I think when it comes to the minute, granular details of the die-hard fans and the dialogue, even as our form of content as a medium grows, even as people start using the term FRB or whatever, people will still, like, at the end of the day, fan-made rap battles is still a valid name, even if people are not holding it to the standard of ERB. It still makes perfect sense as to why it would be a fan-made rap battle, because it is fan content. And also, just sounds better. If there was a name that had as much of a ring as FRB, it would have caught on by now. People would be saying it. People have tried to make character rap battles work, and some people use it, but it just doesn't have the same ring to it. It's not, and maybe that's because people are used to it, but at that point, the community's been alive for so long. What's the harm in a little tradition, What's the harm in a name that we've all come accustomed to, that even if you want to argue that it's maybe outdated in terms of what it means, that it's just a tradition, and a lot of names adapt to the point where their original meaning gets lost. It happens, but it's here, it makes sense, and it doesn't even matter anyways. So trying to orchestrate a change where everyone in the whole community suddenly gets on the same page as to what we call ourselves, it's just not feasible, it's not obtainable, and there's no point in even trying, really, because it ultimately doesn't really matter. I think that's my argument. I surrender the rest of my time.
Okay, you can yield your time here. Okay, so that's your argument then. Alright. Okay, I'll argue my side then. Okay, my 5 minutes will start now. Alright. So I think something that Benjamin was talking about in his argument that I think actually illuminates why I think changing our name, like trying to change the name, wouldn't be a bad idea, is something where he wanted to talk about this idea of just like what people call us anything anyway. And I think on one hand, I do understand the idea that like, oh, usually labels are only really for hardcore sort of fans. But I think to a certain point, as every genre sort of grows and evolves, everything gets its own name eventually. How long was it before? I say this just as an example because I don't even really know. But like, there's a reason we call something like nerdcore. It's a name that is adopted probably starting from the community, if I had to sort of assume. And I think that doing something like that, especially at a time when our community is becoming sort of increasingly recognized by the larger YouTube landscape, if anything, now might be the time to sort of to do it. And so that at least gets me into why I think we do need some kind of name to start with. As for why I think FRB isn't the most effective one, I do get the idea that like what we do is inherently based in fandom, and to that extent I don't disagree. I think even if we wanted to change the label of FRB from fan-made to fandom rap battles, I think there is an argument. I think there is a point in that. I would argue that's still changing what FRB currently is into something else. I do think I'm a personal fan of the idea of character rap battles, as you have mentioned, because I do think it is a label that works very comprehensively. It is the best possible coverage. I do think FRB also as a term gets to a point where, because it is attached to the server essentially, there are people who are not in it and will not want to sort of identify over that. And I think that's fair. I think and I'm okay with the server sort of staying FRB, but I think as a point of what the larger community is, I think having a label like Character Rap Battles can really well sort of define our niche and help sort of build what our sense of identity is. Now, there are arguments for something like I saw someone mention internet rap battles, and I think there are a lot of ideas we can go through for names. The reason I've chosen something like Character Rap Battles is because there are also other types of rap battles. There are more like traditional, I guess. What's the right term?
Like battle rap.
Yeah, like battle rap essentially, and those obviously, battle rap is part of the term, but rap battles, battle rap, that can get really confusing really quickly. I think adding the term character on there paints a better image of it, and it certainly also opens the umbrella to include lots of different things, because a lot of people are going to, when we talk about like fan made, and why I think fandom rap battles doesn't work as well is because it lends itself too much to the idea that it's all like fictional and it's all like fan stuff, stuff that's made of fandom of something. But we make stuff with all sorts of random things where it's like some D.B. Cooper versus Amelia Earhart feels weird to fall under the idea of like fandom or fan made rap battles. I think that's why calling it something like character, where we're taking either a fictional character or a real person and sort of applying that under, we're building our own sort of characters, is the best choice for something about this community. I think and even if like we go back to ERB, that's where ERB really starts, is that they take these real figures and they essentially build their own characters out of them. I think you have like ERB's interpretation of people like John Lennon, Adolf Hitler, Chuck Norris, so on and so forth. And they build their own characters out of that. And I think certainly you've begun to see the community do the same thing, where we're really building our own versions of some of these characters. We're taking what's known and sort of making our fan made, for ironically enough, versions of these characters. I think that's why having something like that, having that sort of overall defining label, really helps build not only our identity as a community, because I think that's something that's really important, but also helps create an umbrella term that helps define our community as well, and sort of keeps us almost in line, I want to say. And that's time up. Woo! Okay, so that's our initial, that's our first 5 minutes. We've both made our opening cases. I'm going to put, say, 2 minutes on the clock now, and we're going to get 2 turns sort of back and forth to respond and rebut and anything each. We're going to get 2 turns each. And we can also get a chance now to respond to chat if chat has any other things that we would like to talk about and argue our things. Mason, I know I should get a haircut. There's no debate that needs to be had about my haircut, Mason. Sorry. I'm like, I looked to you and I was hoping that you would back me up here, and you sat there.
I mean, I don't really care. You could get a haircut. You could not get a haircut. It doesn't matter.
I get 2 haircuts. All right. Anyways, all right. You're ready to go ahead and all right?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
I think you make an interesting point in terms of a character rap battle as a catch-all term for the type of video we make. That being said, though, I think that there are a few issues I have. First of all, in the sense that when it comes to when it comes to us being the active participant in making that change, I just have my doubts that that's something that's attainable and something that something that we can really make happen, and something we should even really try to focus our efforts towards. Because I think honestly, it doesn't really, it doesn't really matter what you call us. At the end of the day, the content is still there, and it's still going to grow successful and grow big no matter what you call it. And I think really any term that develops as a result of that is not really in our hands. I mean, we can try, but ultimately, it's, I think it's going to be one of those things that everyone has a different name for, in the same way that even things in the community, some people call it a demo or a flow test, or some people call it chiseling or revising or whatever. I think it's just, no matter what we as a community try to co-opt into being the thing that we call ourselves, ultimately I think it's a bit futile, because at the end of the day, it'll only exist as one alternative, and for what really the greater public will eventually just call us, no matter what we say about it. And also, I think that while character rap battles can be definitely a cool like catch-all term, which you mentioned, at the end of the day, what the debate is about the community's name, like what we call ourselves. And we can be a community that makes character rap battles, but that we still, I think, like you even said, us calling the server, for example, FRB, which while that does not maybe count everyone in the extended community, is still very much like a good serves as a central hub for a lot of people that make it. And I think it is a good way of describing us as a whole.
Alright, that's your time?
Yeah, it's my turn.
Okay, and I guess I can go now. So, I think, for my 2 minutes, I want to respond to the idea that, first off, what you talked about with change. I mean, I think the idea the reason I don't necessarily stand for that is because, there's a reason names get adopted the way they do it. Essentially, I don't even think it has to be something that we have to make this big, wide scale effort towards. I do think there are certain things where it's like, like changing the server name and sort of rebranding the server and certain things, like someone pointed out the joke that we've already made something called FRB Brawl. Sure, in a vacuum, those are changes that we will have to make, and they will likely cause a bit of initial confusion. But I do think it echoes back to my point of, like, during a time like this where the community is sort of really expanding, because I think this is our, like, we've had, points in time when individual projects and battles have blown up, but this feels like the past year or so has really felt like the entire community at large is sort of gaining its popularity. And that's why I think at a time like this, when a lot of people are being introduced to the genre, I think is our best opportunity to sort of take that time and create a brand new branding for ourselves. If anything, I think I understand the concern, but I think if anything, now might be one of our best shots to sort of build a proper branding for ourselves, a new proper branding for ourselves if we wanted to attempt something like that. I also think that while I say that I don't mind that the server is changing that, and it gets back to what I said at the start of the stream, which is that, maybe I'm not as diehard for this opinion, I do also see the idea of changing it to character rap battles, in the sense of, I think that it I think helps, goes back to the points I said earlier. If it's just a better fitting sort of name for the community, even as the section that we are, maybe not including everyone.
Interesting.
Okay. All right. You have another 2-minute round, or do you want to lower it down to 1 minute for our final? Do you think you need the 2, or do you?
Yeah, I can try the 2, and then if I don't need it, I'll just
Yeah, well, this is our first round, so we're testing this format out like right now to see if we like it. All right.
For one, ultimately, like I said, I think that as we're growing, it doesn't really matter. People will just have their own names for it, and I don't even think, it wouldn't really be that advantageous to change the name at all, because it doesn't really matter. It would just be, kind of superfluous. And also, something to mention, FRB is just a unique acronym. It's a very good acronym, because no one really has an FRB series outside of the FRB brand official FRB series. Whereas CRB, it's Central Rap Battles exists, comic book rap battles, that's CBRB. CRB is already in use, and it will continue to be used. I think there's been more examples of CRB in the past. FRB is just, it's very unique, and we're very fortunate to have an acronym that is not really common. Whereas I think CRB, that could lead to a lot of confusion, and also it's better for creating a brand, and it just sounds better. F just sounds better than C in an acronym. That's really all I have to say, because I made my points already.
Yeah, all right. Then we'll make it. We'll do single minute, just to add the intensity, just to make it more interesting.
Sounds better, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Then I have to do my thing in a minute. Then. All right. I think that the reason that there's no other FRBs is because we've been named FRB for so long. I think that's why we're not going to see changes until the rebrand sort of happens. I even then, infamously, Eddie FRB is someone who gets conflated, and he has now stated that he's not really super engraved into the main central community, he's sort of just his own creator. But because of his name, that's already a confusion that people sort of work through. And even then, his larger fan base doesn't really like mind or point that out. I think something like that is a change that not like it's the kind of thing where, like I said, it's the kind of change that really needs to be applied for us to even argue that it might not work, because there's really no reason that it wouldn't work other than like attachment to FRB as a pre-existing title for the community. I think that the change to CRB, while providing some sort of short-term difficulties and clarifications with series and names, is the overall better move for the larger future of the community. Time.
Nicely done.
Thank you. All right, so I think that wraps up our first one. Oop. That is going to wrap up our first topic. I'm going to pull up a poll right now. And we're done arguing, essentially.
Yeah, we're done arguing.
We cannot argue any further for either point. But we'll have like a bit while we set up for topic number 2 and decide who goes first.
Okay.
All right. So the poll will start now. Let's see.
Okay, there we go.
Yep, poll should be up. Yeah. All right. So feel free to vote for who you think takes that one. I see, you're like, it's really bad. No, I kind of want to win too.
Yeah,
I'm gonna feel like
man,
I'm gonna feel like
man,
I'm gonna feel like a loser.
Look, man, you just, priorities.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot going on, so whenever something happens like this, it's like, no, I have something to put my stock in here.
Yeah. We should have done like an extra minute. I think we should have kept the 1 minute thing and try to respond to like a thing from chat also.
That would be cool, like a questions poll.
Yeah.
People do make good points.
Yeah. I think that's why we keep the. All right, we're gonna keep the extra minute then for the final one, just so we have some time to like, if we see a chat message we want to respond to, sort of. Okay. Yeah. So I'll flip the coin then. Do you want to call heads or tails right now?
You call it. You call it.
Okay, I'm gonna call heads. Heads is always the winner.
Well, it did not win last time.
All right, tails. So you go first again.
Okay.
All right.
So which one are we doing next?
I think next is our yearly event one. Okay. So. Let me type that up. For someone asked earlier if these are like scripted. At least for me, I had like a few points that I like bullet point. I had like 1 or 2 ideas to bullet point down. But I do think a lot of this is just like rambling.
I have ideas in my head.
Yeah, it's mostly we have ideas.
Yeah, like I especially don't know what he's gonna say, so I have to like come up with something on the spot to respond, and like vice versa. So.
Yeah, exactly. We're like Ramble City over here. I'm about to get a DM from Chip that's like, oh yes. Nope, never mind.
Okay.
Trip's a loser. Yo, everyone, never mind. I was gonna say we should type that Trip's a loser and bully him.
No, Trip's doing good. Trip is doing good work right now. Trip is hard at work on something excellent, so I'm not trying to poke the bear.
Alright, so topic number 2 for us is that we should have one more yearly event. Before we even start, I think it's fair for us to explain what the yearly event thing is.
Okay, yeah.
Before we like have a proper start.
Hello, Trip.
Hello, Trip. Yeah, he is here. So the way events work in our community is right now we have 3 like major events, I will say. I think that's the best way to consider it.
3 major events.
3 major events, all synced up to holidays. That being April Fool's, Halloween, and then Rap Battle Day, which is, as of right now, the first Saturday of July. Yes. Which it's in like it was a holiday, or it was like
it was June 1st, and then it got.
It was June 1st, and then it was meant to be the anniversary of something, and then we changed it to just be something more like in the summer as a celebration.
And then we have like a 100-hour challenge sometimes.
Yeah, we have a 100-hour challenge, but we're not really including that in this conversation necessarily.
Yeah, I mean it can kind of count.
It can.
Yeah.
I definitely have a thing or two where I thought about it, but at least for this, the 3 like the pre-existing ones that are relevant to this debate are those 3, mostly.
Okay.
So yeah, that we just explained the current yearly events that we have in the community. So are you ready to start?
I'm ready. Also, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I saw that you won. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, thank you so much. I thought you had me. I can't lie. you did very well.
I lost on clout. This is awful.
Hey, that's not true. I think people just agree. Okay, let me know when I can go.
All right, so your 5 minutes will start now.
Okay, current topic. We should have one more yearly event. Answer: hell no.
Yeah.
We should not. Absolutely not. And, okay, historically, every time we have tried to fuck with the events, like currently, the trifecta, we have April Fool's, Rap Battle Day, and we have Halloween, and then we also have the 100-hour challenge, which I do count for the sake of my argument, and I think that's perfect. Like 3 main yearly events and then one kind of cute themed one over the course of a few days. That's great. That's great. Perfect. We solved it. Let's look at historically other events that we have tried to do that have been not that good. Winter event. No one liked that. We literally made that as a substitute because Halloween was failed and everyone was miserable. And we didn't know why, and we were experimenting, so we tried, let's do an event in the winter. It failed. There were some good releases, but the inertia was way low. No one liked it. No one was happy. Tuesday, it was, okay in the moment, but ultimately, no one really remembers that much. No one really looks fondly on it. It was just kind of remembered as an event that happened. And then when there have been other 100-hour challenges that are not the official FRB hosted one, they've typically gone under the radar and there's not a lot of momentum for them because, to be frank, people are just burnt out. People barely make time to make the events that we actually do have. I mean, for starters, what the fuck would the event even be? I mean, we don't really need any more. April Fool's, that's a good one because that's community tradition of April Fool's battles. And, no one's doing anything for April Fool's. It's not one of those holidays. And Halloween, usually people are doing stuff in the night, so it's a good time for an event. And then Rap Battle Day, we can set on the weekend because we have control because it's a made-up holiday that doesn't exist. But even with April Fool's and Halloween, we are beholden to the fucking calendar. If it comes on a weekday, then it's suddenly more inconvenient for everyone else, and then we have to add another holiday to that, which, out of everything else, what would we do, a Valentine's holiday? Probably not, because what would that even look like? We have, we can't do a Christmas holiday, because I mean, that would be, pretty short after Halloween, and then also people are going to be with their families in Christmas. There's not really a good idea for a Halloween unless it's another themed one like the 100-hour challenge. But again, when people have tried doing derivatives of the 100-hour challenge that are not hosted by FRB in the same year, typically the turnout's a bit low. People don't really remember the battles that come from it. It's overall not that great. It just historically has not been that great. And, people, I mean, I can tell you for... me, I'm burnt out because my schedule, as someone that kind of suffers a bit from some kind of OCD or something similar, I'm very attached to dates, and so even when there's not an event, I'm always trying to schedule my battles to hit certain, unofficial days. I was stressing the hell out because I couldn't make anything for the 10-year anniversary of Terrible Rap Battles, which passed at the beginning of this month. And, that's the same for a lot of people. A lot of people that make battles are I want to hit this day because it's, my birthday, or it's when this game got released, Patrick did Fly versus Monica for the Undertale anniversary. People are already thinking about how to hit dates, and they're burning themselves out. They are. People have, this is between people who have to go to college or high school. People have real-life stuff that they're getting burnt out of. And also, the more events we have, the less the value of each event decreases because it's less scarce. And it becomes, the more events we try to add, the more people are burnt out, and the less special each of those events is, and the less time they have to make something really cool for those events, because they just had to, cut, a month to make another event. It would just, right now we have the perfect system. Every time we tried to fuck with it, it's gone terribly, and I think we should just leave it be. Thank you.
Okay, minute to spare. Are you good to cut there, or do you want?
Cut.
Is there anything else you want to?
Okay, let's see.
Did you have anything that you?
I mean, not really. I didn't see anything, but it seemed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that could be your time then. All right, and then I will start mine now. Okay. So something that I do understand the argument. For those of you not familiar, there is a point he has in the idea that we've tried things that are more deviating. What I think is important to note here is that these are always in response to something. Usually, events usually go wrong when they're in response to something. Tuesday being a decent example, I think is good because it is something that you knew was coming ahead of time, and there was a lot of like discussion ahead of time about it because it was like obvious. For those of you who don't know, Tuesday being February 22nd, 2022. But the point I'm getting at is that the reason that events usually fail is because we're trying to fuck with the core like system of the existing events. Now that being said, I'm about to suggest something that is going to slightly change that. But I think it is going to have like, I think there are the ideas that I'm suggesting do have applications that can sort of add and maybe improve to what our current system is. So first off, I'm just going to start from the top because I want to keep my argument structured here. Let's look at the events we currently already have and see what we have. We have April to July. We have April Fools. That's April 1st, first Saturday of July, so just early July, and then we have Halloween. That's October 31st. First off, the question being where would we put it? I actually think there is a pretty sensible place to put it, which is, I would argue, somewhere around late January or maybe early February. Now there is the idea of like, oh, what day is it? Is there any sort of holiday or anything that we can tie to it? On one hand, I am not completely familiar with like every single holiday ever. I do think that we wouldn't be able to find like a definitive like, this is the perfect holiday that's always going to work. And I don't think we should try to do that either. But I do think something like a sort of like, rap battle day, but sort of leaning in like the late sort of end of winter isn't necessarily a bad idea, for the reason that it actually bridges the gaps between the events even better. We now say that I am putting an event at the end of January, let's say. That actually creates a perfect 3-month cycle between events. It creates an I'd argue, even clearer, better structure to events, where every 3 months you get one within the year. Obviously there are things like, and I think it skips around the problems we were talking about with Christmas and holidays that are like very time and family focused or school focused or things like that, because January is traditionally a more sort of like open time, and we've done it after the sort of double hit of Christmas and New Year's. By the end of January and the start of February, you're more or less acclimated back into your sort of regular everyday life. But that's why it happens at the end. So you have that time between the holidays and when you start to acclimate again to sort of have that little break in between. Now, I do think that sort of having these 4 full day events that we currently have would definitely clutter. They can definitely be cluttersome. And so I would like to, if this is the system that we do, I'd actually like to propose something on top of that, which is that the reason I think that events also have sucked in the past, or why they've sort of failed, is because usually they go on for very long and there's sort of this idea of like these empty spaces. That's why something like Rap Battle Weekend and, like you said, Winter Event was such an infamous disaster. My pitch on top of, if we want to add something at the end of January, well, I see you trying to say upload in January. That's a myth. That's not like a thing anymore. That's like, I have personal testimonies from other creators that this like January curse of YouTube has been outdated, at least for like people's experiences this year. It's more or less moot now, essentially. And my pitch is that on top of, if we want to be able to add that, and something that I think will actually not only help make space but improve other events, is shortening our existing event days also, because that does, I think, remove the risk of just like long days where there's like big stretches where no one's uploading or there's not a ton of stuff that interests people. It creates something more jam-packed, and so it does make it so that if you do miss it, there's that more reliable sort of next window for you to sort of hop in and get your next chance. So I think it does have a balancing feature to where we can improve current events while making more space. And that's time. Whew, okay. So I'll give you your 2 minutes to respond. All right, ready?
No, give me a minute. I need to recall what you said because I'm trying to.
Yeah.
There's something you mentioned. Okay, yes, I got it.
We're big ramblers. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I get it. I was
Well, I'm saying that for both of us.
Yeah,
It's like,
I
I got lost in the middle of the last one too a little, where I was like, oh, I had something I was going to respond to that you said. It would be better if we had like papers writing things down, but no, this is more fun if we make ourselves look like idiots.
No, that's fine.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, first of all, I think shortening events, I think that's a bit of a lost cause because I think there's no, I mean, it's just hard to do because there is just, I feel like it's very hard to come up with a way to reliably do that, you know, still creates a good event without not benefiting, without, it's very hard to find a way to do that that isn't also unfair to people that want to, like, submit stuff, because a lot of, you know, the vacancies are a result of last minute render times failing and people just not planning well until like the last week. It's not something that can really be accounted for in any way unless we come up with some very good system, in which case, like, we've been doing it for years. I feel like it probably would have come up by now, and if not, we should just not be talking about this in a goofy debate stream. We should actually try and figure that out.
Of course.
Also, yes, the YouTube monetary January thing has been solved, but I think that there's a more pressing issue with it, which is after New Year's, people don't want to do shit. I mean, look, sometimes you get something like a Fight Marker and Friends, where it's like an independently hosted event that gets, you know, lights the fire in people's asses and gets people to make stuff, but that is a very small, localized event. That, you know, that was also a charity stream, and we're obviously not going to be doing something like that, and it's also just a lot less people, like it was hand-picked.
Yeah.
And even then, everyone that was selected for that, not everyone made a Battle for Fight Marker stream. So, you know, and I honestly think that's a good time. I think, honestly, reserving that time for more small-scale, like, Inquisitions, which is, for people not aware, when like, a small amount of creators drop on the same day, just independently, not an FRB-hosted thing. You create little moments like that, and that can be where that energy goes if people really want those months to be less dead. But people say January through March is less dead, but like February was not even that dead because of these independent events, and I think trying to make that an FRB thing, it would just, I don't know, it would just be less efficient. I know, I was just finishing my sentence.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I can go now. I think that while something like Fight Marker and Friends definitely has its place, and I think had it not already been existed, I would very much argue that, yeah, I mean, even Walk's pointing out right now, there's always a big New Year's Inquisition. There's like, I think there's a lot of build up and stuff after, and I'm saying we can essentially centralize it just to a slightly different time than usual, where it's just like, the Fight Marker and Friends thing is just somewhere within February we can put, I think, arguing to push that a little earlier, and stuff that's like the New Year's Inquisition. I think the argument that people just don't want to do that isn't inherently true, because we've seen sort of that there is that. We're just sort of centralizing that energy to a more locked in, like, sort of location, essentially, instead of making these small sort of different drops. I understand the argument for creating Inquisitions and things like that, and but I do think that's an argument for why something like having some sort of having that blossom almost into a yearly event might be good also, because I mean, I think that's how a lot of these sort of things can evolve. You have different sort of like things like the 100-hour challenge. I don't think we ever intended to make those, like, I don't think, at least from my memory of operating on those, that wasn't like meant to be like, oh yeah, we're 100% going to do this every year. But as time goes on, it's become such a great tradition that it's become sort of like a second, like, yeah, like you are even addressing it as an event. And I think, first off, I'm not even arguing that, like, whatever this is can't also be something like a 100-hour event. I think that something like that could also have its function. Essentially just being like that start of the year, like fire under people's asses, 100-hour, make something quick going, and sort of getting that energy out of people. I think having that centralized energy can be very good. Okay. Alright. That's my time. Okay. Are you good to go?
I'm good to go.
Alright. Go ahead. You have another 2 minutes to respond.
Okay. Here's a problem with that, and I think that maybe a 100-hour challenge sort of thing could work and be cute, but I think FRB really just needs the extra time. Like, I mean, it's really just like the debate between like a year-long school versus like a, you know, traditional summer break kind of thing, where I think it's good to just give FRB a noticeable package of time outside of just the yearly cycle to let them breathe, and like, you know, if they want to congregate and do individual things, that's fine, but there's usually a lot less pressure in that, because the moment you start channeling that into a centralized thing, it suddenly stops being like, oh, this would be a really cute thing to do with my friends, and it starts becoming like, oh, this is another big event that I need to hit, because people have that pressure, and it's not even entirely like justified. It can, you know, because I think it's fine to skip events, really, but a lot of people don't think that. They want to hit the events, and when they don't get it, they suffer FOMO, even though, like, even with the 3 main events being the norm for as long as it is, people aren't able to hit it usually. A lot of people aren't able to hit all 3 at once, and people feel like shit, and I think trying to make another centralized thing, for one, there's a lot of people that will drop in December because it's either New Year's or like the Christmas season, and people will have themed projects for that, and then telling them to and they can't really change it, and then telling them to get off their asses to make a whole other battle in like a month from now, and then, it's a bit, I mean, I'm sure they could, but like it would make, usually the other events have like a lot more time and planning put into them to make them better, and I just think like it would be, I don't know. I think it just adds a lot of pressure, and I think a lot of people just need the time to have their own time to create and like make stuff on their own schedule and learn that own discipline, where they're not being motivated by the pressure of getting FOMO by not reaching an event. And I think that's what the strict does.
Okay. Alright, that's your time, and I'm gonna go. So, I think that there is a point to be made about the idea of sort of FOMO needing to sort of hit events. I know I'm someone who used to have, and still occasionally have a big problem with that. I think that first off, by sort of restructuring how, I think a big, like, sort of, almost like an event, not sort of restructuring, could sort of aid in that issue, in that, like, the reason I think FOMO hits the way it does is because it in part of what you're saying, but also because of its scarcity. The idea, I think that in some part, adding another event could help work some of that out, where, like I said, it adds the structure for people who, I don't think it's necessarily for people who aren't already, like, confident in their abilities to sort of hit sort of marks and stuff like that. I think if the thing about it comes down more to, for people who are a little more like looking for a structure, I think this gives a very, like I said, a very easy setup 3-month system. For people who don't need that structure, or who do not want to sort of bend themselves, then I think that sets up those windows where it's just like, okay, that's where all the stuff is happening. If I don't feel like pushing myself for that, I know where to sort of work around. I know sort of what my windows sort of look like and what I can do to avoid that. That's why I think, like, it's why I think we have this certain event system that we still do. It's why I think events have gone on as much as they still do. And even then, there is some wavering in it, that I think an event sort of restructuring, and part of that being adding another one sort of into our lineup, that can help sort of build a new and perhaps better way of it. It's the kind of thing where I think that the solution to it might just be sort of giving people that option to sort of do or do not. And that's time.
Nice.
I didn't respond to it within my time, but I am going to respond to it now, just because I don't think it matters for either of our points, because I think we both disagree with it, is what Dustin just said of, like, RBD is already dying.
I don't think
that's true.
That's just not true.
He's just lying to you.
Here's the thing, historically, and while, yes, some people might be dropping out, like you might see some big creators not want to participate in the events, I think Rap Battle Day has always been quote-unquote dying. And then there's always a great, amazing Rap Battle Day that everyone's like, holy shit, Rap Battle Day's back. I think that was kind of the sentiment in 2023, because that was when Fight Marker released Eric Andre, right? No, that was April Fool's. What did Fight Marker release? JonTron. And then Eddie released SpongeBob. like, and it was like this great, amazing event everyone loved. Because 2022, we did wrap out a weekend, and everyone didn't like that. And then like Halloween, like with like 2022, there was a bad Halloween, right? And then the next, was that the one that was bad? No, I think 2022 Halloween was the good one.
I'm not 100%.
I'm trying to remember. No, I think that was the good one, because that was when Mario Silhouette came out. Yeah, no. There was a whole thing about Halloween being bad, and then, like, was 2023 Halloween was kind of whatever. Then 2024 Halloween was also good. I could be misremembering, but there is a thing, like, historically, events people look at, and they're like, oh, it's dying, it's not as good. And then there's a good event that gets everyone excited again. So, I mean, I think...
He's just wrong.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I think we'll see. I can't say he's completely wrong, because but I think... if you look at the data and like how things have gone, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I think it just depends.
I think his point on like there are less creators. I think it's more so just less people you care about, in the sense of just like I think there's always gonna be people to fill the slots of just like there's always gonna be newcomers, and and like sure maybe it's not like the highest quality thing. Maybe we'll laugh at you every now and then, but I think that's the idea is not so that like. I just don't think events are necessarily for you at a certain point. I think we have big creators there to sort of create this sense of unity, but ultimately the idea of appeal. I think both of us can agree, like regardless of if there are more events or not, what part of like why events are great is just it's like everyone gets a showcase essentially.
Exactly.
And the fact that it's like maybe there are less people that you inherently care about, and I understand why that might be a problem if you're like, I watch Freshie Canal, Game Plus 64, and no one else ever. I get why events might be a little less exciting to you, but I do think that there's still some importance in sort of making events accessible and exciting for people outside of that.
Maybe. I mean, I don't really see that happening. I mean, because I think like even 2024, I remember being really, really good, and I think 2026. Here's what I'll say: 2026. If this is still an issue and it was a bad one, then I'll start to come around to your point a bit more, and maybe we could figure something out about that. I mean, okay, I should like, I'm sorry, I'm so everywhere right now.
Yeah.
Okay, because that brings me to something else I wanted to address. But 2026, if people really don't want to submit, like it turns out, and I'm sure you've talked to people that have said they don't. But I just mean, like, I want to wait and see, like, what the turnout is like and then how that comes across. Because, even if there's less creators, I mean, people have been worried about that. Then we've had cozy events out of it anyways. And, I mean, it's really just an ebb and flow. Like, people, where there's vacancies, people will start to take their place, and then, we'll have new community kings or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing where if you're looking, like, it sounds like what you're looking for is very specific. And to that extent, I just don't think you're going to be happy with the way... with how the system will go on.
We'll see. We'll see if it does or not.
Yeah, I mean, even that, like, I don't know. I just think it's the kind of thing where it's like it dies if we decide that it will. Yeah, as in, exactly. Like, if we resign ourselves to the idea that it will die, it will die.
If Battle of the Month is still alive after all these years, I have faith.
Yeah, it's exactly. Okay. It's like we've held strong on a lot of different things. And I think that, Yeah. Speaking of holding strong onto things from the past.
This is a good... Okay, first, there's something I want to say, because someone said this before. Like, I think they said something like, will this actually, like, cause any of this to be changed? No, I mean, maybe. But, like, we are not basing this off... Like, if this win... Like, because Gamer's winning, but that does not mean we're going to actually make an event. It's just a debate. But, like, maybe we'll talk about it later because we had it, and it'll indirectly lead to it. But this is just for fun. Yeah,
the point of this is just to get people talking and thinking about things relating to the community. If that then sparks a large enough amount of people being like, well, we should do another one within community, because at the end of the day, this choice will be made within community among just all creators, big and small, who want to see a change in the event system.
Exactly.
Then we'll definitely be more likely to sort of make that statement. But otherwise, don't expect anything here to sort of have any like concrete effect otherwise.
But yeah, by the way, like I know we kind of disagree, Dustin, but I do appreciate you chiming in. I think it makes for an insightful conversation.
I think it's important to have these kind of things.
Yeah.
All right. Looks like I won that one. I mean,
so
very
someone
close.
asked how I felt when my battle got 1 million views. I mean, I popped off. That's pretty
Or at least
crazy.
100K, and you stopped doing joke rap battles.
Well, I can't say I've ever stopped. Well, I can say because I did, but yeah, no. I mean, it's great. I mean, I feel good. I mean, I've always wanted to do serious battles. The joke battles, honestly, were kind of just like me. I've always wanted to do joke battles and serious battles, but I had no equipment or skills or whatever to do serious battles, so I just settled for joke battles. And then I got the ability and skills to do serious battles, so I'm like, I want to do this now.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Speaking of which, coin flip.
Coin flip.
All right. You call it heads, tails.
Heads. I don't even know what we're debating. Oh,
Heads.
damn,
Oh,
damn.
you keep starting these.
I know.
Do you want to switch it up and I start?
You can start. I think it's only fair.
Okay. Well, I'm not
bonus-
saying I have to. I'm just saying, do you want to switch? If
No,
you're
I
interested-
want to switch because it's only fair.
Okay.
I've already got the pride by winning the coin flip. That's all I need.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. All right. So I guess I'll start. First off, walk is wrong. That thing he just said in chat is wrong. Bonus battles do have have a lot of applications, and especially I think to up and coming creators. I think that there's a lot of sort of pressure on projects now, especially in the current era of the community that we're in, where things are growing and it's growing as a genre so fast that there's this emphasis for a lot of people to make projects as big and as ambitious as possible, or just like the best thing that you can possibly make. And while I think that it's led to a lot of great innovation and creativity from creators, I also think that it has come at the cost of a lot of creators not getting the ability to have their practice. And I think bonus battles are such a good avenue for something like that. Now, first off, I want to openly define what I view as a bonus project here. A bonus battle, at least in my point of view and what I'm choosing to define it as, is something that is actively smaller scale than most other usual projects. Is something that and this applies to all fronts. Sort of like the idea of like shorter, more simply edited, maybe like, like smaller scale projects. Essentially, there are a lot of projects that I think could fall under that are like that some people might consider more traditional full battles. But here's my point that I'm getting to is that one of the things about it is I think it provides a lot of great practice, especially for up and coming creators, and it hides a lot of that pressure sort of creating something that's like this big has to mean something, has to make a splash project. I think bonus battles are such an easy and convenient way for people to get in not only editing practice, but all sorts of practice where it's just like, if you want to try recording a role, doing a voice that you might not usually do, mixing for the first time, writing with some new flows and beats and sounds, bonus battles I think can be a very good early avenue to that. And once you reach a certain skill cap for people, I think that's when you can sort of phase them out. But I think on a large scale, if you look at the community en masse, there's definitely this exodus of bonus battles, and I do think it has its negative sort of effects. I think a part of it also is that something that French Canal Dustin is pointing out right now is that I think that by bonus battles dying, it creates this high investment for some creators where everything has to be, like I said, this big project, and I don't know if this is like an always true thing, but I think we've certainly. I think that there are more projects now than during the age where bonus battles were very common, especially during like COVID times, when characters feel sort of stretched out and being like, and sort of needing to sort of fit a mold of just like what a battle is and needing to do something properly. I do understand the idea of creating like a definitive project. I myself am someone who every now and then will get this big ambitious idea to create a definitive project. But I think that the other side to this coin that is so important is that it ends up being both better for the creator to sort of space yourself out and let yourself sort of practice and play around, or just do something that is like, just good, like a refresh for your work, to give yourself the opportunity to build up to those bigger, more important projects. Essentially, I found that, at least in my own experience, working on like as many big projects back to back to back really creates this effect of having like almost burnout, essentially, like creative burnout. It puts a lot of pressure on yourself. I think bonus battles are such a great way of working off some of that pressure, some of that like other like creative drive into something that is a little more compact and a little more easy to absorb for people. The last point that I want to make here, at least in my opening argument, is just like for the sake of, because again battles are so big, and especially now that we're out of COVID, I think a lot of people are very like scared by the idea of like getting in because there's such big investments to make. But I think the idea of something like bonus battles and getting into stuff like that can definitely help creators sort of get an opportunity to really like I said, make something simpler and sort of work their way into bigger projects. That's my time.
Wonderful.
All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want to say that was a very good opening statement, and I genuinely agree with you on a lot of what you're saying about the community. I do think that the quality standard has grown to a unsustainable high, and I think that there needs to be a community-wide depressurization of the skill cap. I completely agree with all of that. I'm not too sure that bonus battles are the way forward, though. Because I think a lot of people, I mean, while in theory it's good, I think a lot of people, while there have been really good bonus battles, a lot of 2020 Freshie Canal battles that are bonus battles are still classics in my opinion. I think, honestly, a lot of bonus battles historically have just been people that have been kind of lazy. Like, they just kind of see it as a way to churn something that they know is going to be lower effort out. And while that's not even necessarily bad, it also is kind of bad, because it is, it inherently leads to a lesser product. And I don't think that's all bonus battles, I think that's definitely to the individual. Mm-hmm. But I think honestly, a healthier way to approach it is I think we just need to redefine and reshift what we see as a normal battle. Because I think, honestly, the stigma of bonus battles, it can be more reductive than it can be good in terms of achieving what you're suggesting we should do, or what, you're thinking is the way forward. Because if we forever confine these low-stakes, smaller battles to the label of bonus, then that kind of invalidates them, and that makes that whenever there's an oversaturation of those kind of bonus battles and people want to see main battles, that's just going to lead people to not like anything bonus battles. I mean, I think if you look at things like Marvel vs. Anything, for example, is a great series where the videos are quote-unquote bonus-style videos, because that's the only community equivalent we have. But it's not a bonus series. It's a full series. Like, the ideas are still great. It's one of my personal favorite rap battle series. Those are all normal battles to me. I wouldn't call them bonuses, but I think they're very good in doing paving the way forward in terms of de-escalating the stakes of needing to be an amazing editor that has a million flashy visuals and 3 verses each, crazy flow pockets and everything. That's such a love letter and an homage. I think it's okay. I think what we as a community just need to relearn is that we don't need, the passion we have for something does not need to be equivalent to how long or how much effort we necessarily, transmutes into the battle itself. Because I think, Michael Jackson versus Elvis Presley is an ERB that I think of a lot. Where if that was a fan-made rap battle, if an FRB, that would be a 10-minute rap battle that goes through, every single different era, and they all, singing, and the beats changing, and it would be kind of exhausting. But ERB didn't need to do that. They made, a 2-minute battle with 2 of the greatest artists of all time, mm-hmm. And it's still amazing. And it still is aged as one of their best battles yet. I think our effort towards de-escalating the pressure is to just encourage people to make more low-scale stuff, because people are. Look at PowerPoint rap battles. He edits in PowerPoint, and everyone loves his battles because he doesn't need to adhere to the standard of flashy After Effects edits up the wazoo. They're just very simple edits. The characters will move a little bit, And that's it. I mean, you can literally see his growth in real time and see how many people, like, say, oh, you're getting better, until now he makes great stuff. And, like, that is an example. Like, people like more battles like that. And, like, another favorite of mine, like, you have, like, Osaka versus Scooter, or, like, The Villager versus Harold and the Purple Crayon. Like, I think there is a market already existing for these very creative but kind of amateurish, not standard ideal battles that I wouldn't call bonuses, that I think are doing a lot more for that than a bonus battle is, because I think even in that label of bonus, people don't really take it seriously. People aren't going to look at it like, I think it'd be, I mean, you know, everything takes time, and I'm sure with time, if we reintegrated it as a concept, maybe we could get there. But but still, even if we only confined our idea of these low stakes battles to bonuses, that means that they still have to make, like, the high-stakes ones if they want to make something considered a main battle. Where if someone just wants to do quote-unquote bonus-style battles, then they should be able to without being called bonus series or whatever. And I think a lot of really good creators do that anyways, and I think it doesn't need to be purely from bonus battles.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you're just about out of time. You have like 5 seconds left. All right. Oops. It's supposed to be 2 minutes, not 5.
Cheating.
Oopsie. Okay. All right, and then I will respond to that. I think that something interesting is the idea of sort of implementation. Versus sort of.
Oh, it's lagging.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll pause it, and then I'll shut up then while I wait for the stream to.
Yeah. Should you refresh?
I'll try to refresh.
We're back.
Yeah, let us know if the stream had a little.
This is handy. This is a very good. I'm glad you did this.
Yeah. Honestly, we should have done this from this. Well, no, this computer sucks.
Yeah. Okay, it's lagging a little bit in the footage. Okay. Interesting.
I can't. Yeah, it's really funny. I genuinely can't tell if that's because of the laptop or because of the internet.
I think we're back. I think
we should be. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Give us a little notice if we're back.
Okay.
Yeah, camera lag.
Yeah, sorry.
So I think it's just more like the laptops being a little overworked here. Apologies.
Okay, stream is fine. Okay. West Coast internet is wild. Yeah. A little. It is.
Specifically, this hotel's Wi-Fi. We should leave a review.
Yeah.
We should both leave an individual review and then tank this hotel score.
Well, I like this hotel. It's nice.
I don't. I fucking hate it. It's awful.
Walmart.
Okay,
we
shout out Walmart fans.
We got thumbs ups in the chat.
So I think we're good to restart again. Okay.
Okay, I think we're good.
All right. So back to my argument. I think that something interesting we're talking about here is the idea of what bonus battles are versus how they're being implemented, which I don't think is inherently the fault of bonus battles. While there is an argument that a lot of creators will sort of misuse the title, and just like Fresh Canal pointed out, that a lot of people are so willing to sort of rank them lower just on the idea that they're bonuses. I don't think that inherently should disqualify bonus battles as a concept. Like you said, I think what it comes down more to is sort of a re-education about how we approach projects like bonus battles or, you know, more standard full affairs. Now, I do think that to a even larger degree, I do think that at the end of the day, this is all just a spectrum, and that bonus battles is just leaning towards that very low end of the spectrum. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that everything else outside of it is inherently this like big art piece, this big giant project. So I do think that there's a spectrum where a bonus battle, I think, is just the most elementary form that is still like your standard affair, essentially. Sort of things that are the more sort of elements that you add on, the more complex you make something, obviously, the less sort of bonus battle-y it is. To the certain creator, like, if you're someone who is always making the biggest, most giantest thing ever, something even a simpler project can be viewed as a bonus battle because you're making everything so big. I think that we're talking about bonus battles in such a like basic form here, where we're talking about them as they are individually and how they pertain to the creator. And I think that to every creator, they have their sort of worth. I'm not gonna have enough time to address my full points. So I'll save that for my next rebuttal here, and I will just wrap it up. I'm arguing for bonus battles should make a comeback. I saw someone saying that. I'm arguing that they should make a comeback. And he's arguing that they don't need to.
Yeah.
All right, ready?
Okay, I think so, yeah.
All right, edit.
I think it matter when it comes to like when you talk about like how it pertains to the creator. I don't know. I'm of the opinion that I think more creators should just go out of their way to make more low effort stuff or not do things that are beyond the general standard. I mean, and maybe that's, I mean, it's hard because once you've locked yourself into a visual style, that becomes the expectation. But I think there's ways of circumventing that. I mean, for one, like, when I made, we talked about this before off stream, but there's a reason that I wanted to follow up the Animal Farm battle with Teru Teru, because I figured there's a lot of new fans coming in with Animal Farm, and I never want to be trapped in thinking like, oh, that's all I do and that's all I have to do. So I pumped out like a lot smaller scale battle, and that's not a bonus battle. That's still like obviously a bit of a traditional main battle. But even then, it's kind of, I'd say it's a bit like low effort in terms of like, I wasn't doing anything crazy ambitious with it. Like, I mean, but even then, like, I think we could get lower. Like, I think, like, really, like, I guess I just, in my opinion, like, I think if we're talking about what, like, core, the type of battle we're talking about, I'm not opposed to them coming back, but I think the label of bonus battle is just kind of reductive in my opinion. Because, I mean, again, that's relative to the series, especially if they're doing seasons or whatnot. Like, there's a reason, like, there's obviously a visual identity one has that they're trying to break away from. And, like, I guess, yeah, that could apply. But ultimately, like, that's kind of, that's a bit of a pointless distinction to make, I think. Because, like, at the end of the day, I think when we talk about bonus battles, we're talking about a very, like, low-effort edit, like a low-intensity edit, maybe shorter characters we don't know, like 1 or 2 pieces of art. And, like, I think those can be main battles, too, and I think we should push that more, and I don't think it's fair to just, like, to hold people to the standard that, like, to reinforce the standard by calling those main battles.
Okay, yeah. Alright, last turn for each of us.
Yeah.
I do agree. That I think that it like I said, I think it pertains the idea of what bonus battles are. I'm not arguing that I think the term of bonus battles doesn't need to make a comeback as much as what they represent. For the individual creator, like I said, I do think that we generally have this preconceived idea of what bonus battles are, but I think you're right in that they look a little different for every creator essentially based on what they do. But I think en masse, again, what they represent and how they pertain to each creator matters and I think can be good, essentially. Going back to the example of what we're talking about with something like Marvel vs. Anything or PowerPoint rap battles, I think the interesting thing about those as series is when we talk about something like progression and scale. That's why I think they're so interesting to this discussion, is because while yes, they disprove this idea that like just because something is looks simpler and is maybe a little less large in scale, that does have the inverse effect also, where I think it's very hard to usually say that like there's not inherently as many projects from those guys that you can say are like really upping the scale per se. And I'm not even arguing that it's inherently a bad thing, but I think it's not the greatest precedent to set that something like those applies for the argument against bonus battles, because I think that for a lot of creators, they do want to see that progression. They do want to take that next big step. And like and same for someone like you and for those guys, where once I think you reach a certain level, you might not have the necessary need to do something as smaller scale like that, even though I do think it has its value even for larger creators, obviously, like simpler, easier to digest projects to create. But I do think that this point largely applies to people who might need that sort of learning curve, which is a point that I was definitely arguing about for what the idea of bonus battles can provide to the creator landscape.
Nice.
Thank you.
I need a minute to gather my thoughts.
Yeah. It's like reset.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are enjoying this.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I'm interpreting you correctly.
Yeah, for sure. Because I do think we have a good bit of overlap on what we're saying.
Yeah, this is a good back and forth. I'm enjoying this.
Ready?
Fuck it, yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, I guess I see what you're saying in terms of, like, upping the scale. What I really think what this comes down to is, like, I think that FRB just needs to be reminded it has free will. It can really just do anything it wants. And, and it doesn't owe, like, creators don't owe anyone anything. If you want to make something and say this is my next battle and it is, like, a bonus battle, like type thing where it's, but you want to say, yeah, this is part of my main series, then the next thing you upload is some like avant-garde masterpiece that's like the craziest video ever, you can do that. You can just do that. You don't need to like classify it and like, you know, like you can still like learn through making like main battles. Like you could still, like, I mean, like you can, like there's a lot to learn. Like if there's ways to make battles to take the pressure off or like kind of explore, do something more. I mean, that's what like, I mean, that's what Terrible Rap Battles has done for me, like a lot. Like Squidward versus Dead Bart was definitely a battle that I made because I wanted to just make something small and funny, and I didn't feel like making another big thing. And that, I you know, that still had that same effect to me of taking the pressure off and being kind of a statement of like, this is what I want to do, but that's still a main battle. That didn't need to be like a bonus battle or anything. Like, I didn't need to classify it as that. And I made technically, no, it's not. Sorry, I was about to say something wrong. But anyways, like, overall, like, I think what you're, like, the effect you're saying does not need to happen by people making, like, intentionally, like, lower effort bonus battles. Like, they can still do that, they can call it main battles, and they can just make, like, more substantive projects that, you know, are maybe smaller in scale still, but they still, like, do more stuff. And have that be their learning curve. And, like, at the end of the day, no one needs to do anything. Like, you have free will, you can make whatever you want, you don't need to fold to pressure.
Alright. I think that is going to, yeah, that marks that one. Alright, I will pull up the poll for this round.
That's fun.
Yeah, I think it was a good one. I think there's a lot to discuss with this topic. We've certainly tried to ramp these up to where, like, we have 5 topics here, and this is at number 3. And we've tried to ramp these up into where, like, I think these discussion gets deeper and more sort of...
oh, definitely.
Yeah, as they go. So, I'll just put that out. Alright. Okay. Someone asked if Justin Ham versus Miles Braun is a joke battle. It's a battle that has jokes in it. More than it's a joke battle. Okay. Alright. So that will be topic number 3. Okay. And then we are going to transition to number 4 now. Alright. Which is, and I think this one will be...
Okay.
This is going to be the one...
Alright.
I'll go first again, just because we have 2 and 2, and then the last one, I guess, I don't know. We'll see.
They turned it to bonuses in their full. That started as mainline and turned into bonus in their full release. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I mean, it just that's just kind of the thing where the creator just determines. I don't really want to put that much effort into a video in this because I don't care about it that much, and I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think it really depends on. I think things like.
Yes.
I think either or. What's up? Oh yeah, it's
briefly
very close. It's a very close one. Yeah, it's very close. I think that I do genuinely. I don't think that, like, it depends on what you do and why you do it. It depends very much, I think, on that.
Yeah.
To sort of do that. I think that's also the kind of thing where it only matters as much as you know it does.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, if I never knew that Spy vs. Spy was meant to be a full project that didn't end up working out, you know, I think that there'd be a lot less discussion to be had about it, essentially. But I do think that the fact that we do know, for the most part, makes for a very interesting... Did I say Spy vs. Spy?
Yeah, you did.
I meant to say Spy vs. Robbie Rotten. I just caught myself. Something like Spy vs. Robbie Rotten. The fact that we know that it was meant to be a full battle as part of, like, a 50-hour challenge.
Yeah.
Or 48-hour challenge makes, I think, a little more...
Yeah.
You know, it paints the picture a little more. But, yeah, anyways. Alright, topic number 4. Live action is the preferred medium of video for battles. And so I'm going to be pro. Yeah. And he is opposing.
I feel like a traitor because I obviously, you know, I have my roots in live action. So I will say this is purely this is purely for the art of debate.
This is really for the art of debate.
Yeah.
All right. Let me pull up my little bullet points here before I start. Okay. I'm ready. Okay, all right. Here we go. Live action. The reason that I think live action is just such an amazing medium for video in terms of rap battles is just the amount of expressiveness and control that you can sort of have in what you do. I think that something like art and PNGs are very much often limited by the fact that there are only so many you can draw, and there's only so many faces you can do. And even if you can do an endless amount, and even something like animation, which definitely has its advantages, are also often like there are certain limits to that as well. And I'm not saying that there are no limits to live action. There definitely is. But in terms of sheer the amount of expression I think you're able to do sort of with your limbs and with your face, there's a lot more minutia that you can get across typically with live action. And I think in any form of acting and in any form of things like this, I think that it's extremely beneficial. Something that I do also want to state is that for the purpose of this argument, I don't think we need to bring up the fact that there are some characters that are just very hard or almost impossible to do in live action. Say, for example, I wanted to do a battle with, like, Metaton. That's not really, like, or say, BMO. I don't know why robots are what I'm coming to, but let's say that. Those are not, like, for live action. And I won't even begin to try to argue that it's, like, in cases like those, I'm not even going to try to argue it. I'm saying when you have the option to do both, essentially, which is, and the option in this case being live action and not live action, traditionally, when something is able to be done in that medium, I think it is better to do that. Is the stream lagging?
No, I think it's maybe, I don't know, I think it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, if there's any issues, let us sort of know. To continue, I think also that, like, speaking as from an editor's perspective, I find that they're often more efficient in that way for editing as well. Because when you have something like a live action sort of edit, you can... like I said, there's less of that work of, like, there's puppet tools and stuff like that, and there's sort of arm movements and syncs and all that. The biggest thing there would often be a lip sync and then a clean key. The audio keeps cutting in and out for me. Let us know if there's any problem. If there is, I don't mind restarting. Yeah, I'll quickly pause and then I'll just, like, quickly restate my points. Audio's cutting? Okay. It seems like the stream's, like, becoming smoother now, essentially. Yeah. So I don't mind restarting, essentially.
We might be in a spike.
Yeah. Let us know if there's any issues.
Okay, can you ask... Okay, let's wait.
There's still audio on this end. Like, it still says that there's audio on this end.
It says we can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Interesting. No, we're fine.
Let us know if there's any issues.
Okay, I think we're better. Can you ask? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, chat might just be a little behind here.
Yeah, it says that there's audio on this end. Yeah, refresh. I think we're past the spike.
Yeah. Video cuts, but audio is fine?
It is what it is.
Yeah, I'll give it a sec for people to sort of come back and refresh, and then we'll restart.
In the meantime, Dustin asked, can you ask Benjamin if I ever want to do, new live action battles? I mean, yeah, it's just hard to find, like, a setup, but I'd be down to.
Yeah.
But I'll get into that.
Alright, I think just refresh the stream if we're having problems. I'm gonna try to restart now. Here we go. Okay, so as I was saying, I think the live action, to start with, I think we're talking about specifically projects where live action is an option. For characters that are like the Star Walker, like from Deltarune. That's not really as applicable. Ultimately, if you really want to, I'm sure you could do something like that in live action, but I think but I'm mostly talking about battles where it's like humanoid characters or just human characters, realistically. And so in those cases, I think live action is the preferred medium, because of the amount of expression that you're sort of allowed to do. I think in something like art or animation, usually you're sort of limited by how much you can do in the software and things like that. And I think that's something where if you try to do something like that, there's a sort of limitation to it, whereas like live action, at least on the expressive side, you're very much like open to moving as much as you want, making all the facial expressions that you want, and things like that. And I think that kind of thing is very much like the best option for it. While there is a certainly argument that there are certain more like expressive posing or facial expressions you can do with medium like say art, I think on the whole, when we're talking about doing as much as you're able to versus doing the most that you're able to, I think that something like live action is especially really good and one of the best things that you can sort of do. There's also I think an argument to be made about its accessibility in sort of editing. And as an editor, I do think that live action is generally one of the most efficient and like simplest methods. But I still think it has a lot of great options where you can still do all the stuff that you might usually do with your puppet tools and your cool lightings and things like that. Maybe they don't interact the exact same, but I think oftentimes you can find a sort of replacement method for something like live action. And I do think that the benefits with doing something like editing for PNG or stuff like that, I do think can be aided but in editing just as much as live action. And even and there's less sort of setup that needs to be done, where for those of you who don't know, in editing, say I'm editing with an art PNG, there's a lot of stuff to sort of set up with anchor points, puppet tool, all these sort of effects. And not saying that that never happens with live action. To a certain extent, it definitely does as well. It'd be foolish for me to say that it doesn't. But I also think that in its own way, live action has a lot of benefits that other forms of video, at least for the rap battle medium, do not provide nearly as well. I think that in the cases where you're actually able to make something like that work for rap battles, when you're actually able to do a character live action, there's a lot of magic that comes from seeing a performer sort of get to do all these sort of expressions and stuff like that. And there's a lot of minutia that I think goes into it that is not necessarily as clear as can be seen with other forms. I'm not saying that I also would like to specify that this is not like an always thing either. I'm not saying that every battle would be better if it was live action. Obviously, if I thought that, I would do it. But I do think that there are cases where you don't have to. But that's why, and it's why I use the argument of like preferred here. Use the term preferred here, because I do think that on average, live action as a medium has the best. Oh, bit of a lag here on the thing, making sure that there's no issues there. On the whole, something like that is generally better, I think. Ooh, yeah, I think we just hit a lag spike quickly. But yeah, that's more or less my argument I was going to make anyways. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to call the rest of my time, which is like 30 seconds or so.
Sounds good. Well, let's just wait it out, make sure we're good, and then we...
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see.
Sorry, the lag spikes are really coming on strong
We're
here.
making do with what we have, guys. It's not ideal. But,
it's not ideal, yeah, but we just want to make sure that it was
yeah.
a good experience here.
Yeah. Yeah, can we get... let's just make sure. Also, you want to switch to live chat, probably.
Is it not on live chat?
No, because you refresh.
Oh, right.
I don't think it made much of a difference. But
No, not exactly.
Okay. Trip is saying, "Oh, my PC," which indicates it's probably lagging a bit. You look like a PNG tuber. Okay.
Wow, that's not very nice.
Yeah. Okay. Let's wait this out a minute. And
All right. Yeah. Whenever you're.
I just want to see.
I think the stream. It's like it looks smooth enough on the stream.
Okay.
Walmart. I like that. That's our indicator for when we're back on again.
Yeah.
That's keep using. If we lag out, whenever we stop lagging, use Walmart. I love that's thumbs up from Gamer. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready, but I want to give. Wait, no. I just want to give it a minute, just to see if anyone has anything else left to see yet.
I think we're good.
Okay, we're good. Okay.
All right,
I'm ready.
go ahead.
Okay, First thing I want to say, make it clear, I love live action. My roots are in live action. I used to be purely live action. I used to make it a rule that I would only do a battle if I could do it in live action. Then shit in my life happened, and I was forced to not do that anymore, and I had to do PNG editing. And then, coincidentally, I made all my best battles, and they're all in PNG. And I think that kind of says a lot. Yeah, I mean, look, for the first thing I wanted to address about what Gamers said is that I think you really undercut the amount of rap battles that are done with humans or humanoids, because the rap battle community loves cartoons, they love weird Roblox games, they love creepypasta, and some creepypasta work in live action, some don't really, It very much is a case-by-case thing, and a lot, like, look at Eddie FRB, that's one of the biggest creators, and, most of his recent battles would not work in live action, because he does battles with Gumball and SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs and Tom Nook, and that is a majority of what people do. And while, yes, you maybe could, with a high enough budget, find like a fursuit or something that is like moving eyes and a mouth that is expressive, and you can make it work with a big studio, that brings me to my next point, which is live action is not that accessible all the time, because it requires a green screen, it requires enough filming room, which, like, I don't have, so I needed to pivot to PNG to even make battles anymore. It requires some, like, a commitment to cosplay, which means often you have to, like, buy pieces, and even when they're human or humanoid, that can be a lot of budget if the costume is elaborate, like a superhero, for example. Like, those costumes are more expensive than, like, like your average just stuff you can find in your closet. I mean, there's a reason terrible rap battles of Comic Sans is known for, like, really shoddy action that's intentionally bad, because this was not an attainable thing for me to access, like, real good costumes that would fit. So I had to make do. And yes, the expression definitely helps, but there's a lot of times where, like, to be front, like, you also have to be kind of a semi-good actor with, like, good charisma, which you can't really say about everyone that wants to do it. Some people are not, that's not their element. They're not, they're not natural in that. And then when it comes to, like, so either they have to do it themselves, and, like, sometimes they don't even want to show their face, and they either have to ask other people, which that's more of a commitment, like, you have to pay people not only just for the flat commission rate, but you have to pay for their costume, or you have to just suck it up and do it itself, which means it's less accessible. And also you need good lighting, because if your green screen sucks, that kills the whole thing. Believe me, I know, and I still get bullied for it. So, yeah, that's a big aspect of it. And also, you mentioned live action being easier to edit. It can be easy to edit. Green screening, if you have a good green screen, good lights, if you have the good budget, like all I said, then you don't need to move anything for you. But the problem with live action editing that people don't talk about is what's filmed is filmed. And if you decide a storyboard decision is bad, then you can't change it unless you have to organize an entire reshoot, which goes, you have to redo all the different camera angles. That's a lot of cost. You have to get back in costume, back in makeup. Sometimes you have to reset up their whole green screen. That was definitely my setup. We had to reset it up every time. And you have to play with that footage. If there's cutoffs, if the lighting's bad, you have to figure out how to make that work well. If the costume's slipping, you have to learn how to make that work well. And PNG editing, for my thing, at least as someone that, I've learned to do art, but even if you're just commissioning art, you can just come up with ideas as you edit, and you can just slide it in and decide, this is the thing I want to do. This would look way better, so I'm just going to redraw this. And it's just way more efficient. You can just do that individual shot without needing to reorganize an entire shoot. And, there's something else I was going to say. You're also, like I was going to say, you're very confined to your storyboard and to any errors that may have, happened. And, it can be fun to edit, but it's also very limiting and is not as free. And so when you compile all of that, you compile the amount of stuff to even get a setup to do it, like the amount of cost to cosplay. Cosplay is not cheap. And the need to be either like a good actor or like pay people who are. The fact that most characters you're going to use are probably not going to apply. I mean, look at Holden versus Am, not possible. I mean, Holden maybe, but it still would look bad. And just combine that with like how limiting it can be in practice, and I just overall think it's not the best.
All right, that's your time. Okay. Back to me. Alright. I think my laptop was just overheating. That's what's causing a lot of the lag. So I'm just gonna... I've been trying to just sort of like shuffle it around. So if you see my sort of moving it here.
Yeah, did that come through?
I think most of it, yeah. I think people are still mostly responding to you well.
Okay.
And the stream's still... I don't think it's necessarily an audio thing. I think it's just like...
Okay, that's fine.
On occasion, it just
All right,
runs a
gotcha.
little hot. So, alright. I'm gonna do my 2 minutes of respond now. I think what Benjamin is doing is a bit of a fallacy in the sense of we're talking about you're trying to like de-optimalize this experience. And I do think there is an argument to be made about live action being harder to perfect. But I think on that end, I think it's unfair to argue that like any other style is just as easy to get like as right. I think that if we're talking about art, for example, it's like, yes, it is definitely more achievable for a lot of people on average, but we're still arguing about the point of just like then you have to get art that is like there's stuff about limb separation and there's stuff about getting a good artist that fits the style. I've definitely had my own follies and issues with that before, and as much as we talk about the idea that it's like, oh, you can't undo anything, to a certain extent it's to an extent that applies to art as well. Just like, even if you are the artist, that's more time you spend about redoing art. That's more time you spend on getting new art done, and that's more budget that you then have to spend, essentially. Say that if you're someone who doesn't do art like myself, if I wanted to get more art stills, usually I'd have to spend more for that. I think that if you're someone like yourself who is self-sustainable in that way, I definitely get the argument that it's more easy to do on that way. But I think that but I also think that to make this kind of argument, that it's like overall art is without a question more optimal, I think is arguing for something that isn't always going to be true, because there can always be, because just as much as you're arguing of like there can always be bad actors or costumes that don't always work out the best or setups that don't always work out the best, there can be the same issues I think with art, maybe to a slightly different and maybe lesser extent depending on what issues you're looking at. But I think that it's dishonest to argue that the issues that can come with live action don't have counterparts in other forms of video. Alright, that's my time, sorry. Okay. Someone asked if I was using OBS, and I am, yeah. I don't know if that's why the issues are the way they are. But yeah. Alright. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Alright, 2 minutes.
Okay, so you're misinterpreting my argument. I'm not arguing that art does not have its flaws or that it's perfect or that there's no counterparts. My point is that the flaws of the counterparts in live action are a lot more time consuming and require a lot more effort to fix. Because with art, at the end of the day, if you need to redo an art still or get that commissioned, that is always going to be easier than organizing an entire reshoot. And I've done both, so I know that, you know, art at the end of the day, if you're doing a battle with a character that's done in art, then it's just drawings on a paper, and that takes skill to get right. But if you've already like working with an artist, or you are an artist and you have already drawn it, it is significantly easier to redraw it or draw an additional still. Like if you need a character, like for example, if you decide, oh, this would be a cool shot, I want the character to do like a fist and a punching thing. In an art, that'd be, okay, I have the limb separated, I just draw a fist. In live action, that's, I need you to put the costume on again, I need you to get the camera again, I need you to refilm the entire thing just to get this shot. And then, you know, like, at the end of the day, you're still, like, with art, like, there's still, like, with green screens, there's a lot of stuff you don't even know is bad until you're, like, you look at it in post, unless you have, like, a freshly canal style studio where there's people that can just test it immediately with After Effects, and that requires a whole crew, which is not something a lot of people have. A lot of people are just doing it with their phones in their basements, and it can be exhausting to have to do that, whereas by the time you're just doing art, that's already in the program, and so it's just a lot more efficient in that way. So it's not to argue that art doesn't have its flaws, and even then art is not the only way. Like AMV, for example, well, that can also have its flaws, is pretty much like the same thing in the sense like you will never have the same kind of demanding issues as reorganizing an entire live action shoot will be. Like overall, like it's still like, yeah, it's just live action is just, when you fuck up, it's the most intensive, and I like that's just not debatable in my opinion.
All right, my 2 minutes are gonna go. I do want to agree with something that I just saw someone say, chat, is that I do think that, as with a lot of these issues, I do think there's a lot that can come down to proper planning. Not to, and this isn't even something that exclusively that applies to live action. I think same thing can be applied to art and everything like that. But even then, I think that on occasion, like we said, there are things that will come up that are sort of unexpected. And to that extent, I think it applies to both in the sense of, even in that scenario. I think we're also arguing from a point of, what we're arguing is purely from the angle of what are the problems that it can do. I think from a results standpoint, I do think that a lot of the problems with live action, if you're able to sort of work past that, which I'm not arguing that it's always easy. I do understand that to an extent, live action is definitely has its problems and can be very tricky for a lot of newcomers, especially, to sort of pin down. But at the end of the day, where I'm coming at with this argument is that it is still the best thing that you can do for this medium, given the option to. I think the argument that like it has its issues is true. I'm not denying that there are no issues that can happen when you're doing something like live action. But I also still do believe that despite all of this, on average, if you're able to sort of have a proper plan and get all of it done properly and sort of do it as you want, like in a world where you have all the resources and all the options and everything you want to sort of set up, and everything is done as perfectly as humanly possible, I still stand by the fact that live action, on average, is the best option to take with its applicable sort of characters. We have people who have brought up examples with stuff like Flowey and Am, and I just don't think that's a fair argument to make against live action, because it's not the kind of thing that is like what that specific medium is for. All right, that's my time. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, and go.
First of all, I just want to say, I think it's very disingenuous to say that, oh, with proper planning, blah, blah, blah. That is the same thing as like saying, oh, with like good art or good editing. Because planning is that storyboarding, planning, that is another skill. That's not just like a thing, that's not it is a quality to an extent, but it's a skill, and it's honestly one of the most rare skills in the entire community.
That's true.
So like you have it, Dustin has it, and like there's maybe a few other people that have it that are like, I would say are genuinely good at organizing and planning, but most of us are flying by the seat of our damn pants. And while yes, that is a flaw of us, at the end of the day, we're the majority of the people making the projects. So, at the end of the day, the argument is that art is a lot more forgiving, whereas live action, and it's not even just planning, because shit can go out of your control, and it often does. That's not in your hands at all, because as someone that took a 4-year media class, shit just happens, and sometimes the universe does not want you to get a good shoot. It happens. There's something else that you said that I wanted to address. Oh yeah, you were trying to argue that like optimally, in the same choice, that live action is always the best, or like on average is the best. I don't even agree with that, because I think animation can be the exact same level of expressiveness, and I think that can have its own equally good things. Well, yes, I think in like a human versus human battle, live action is probably the best, but animation, that's still on a similar level, and you can do a lot more expressive, fun things with it. Like you have a unique, identifiable style with it too. Like I think all of that stuff is captured by animation as well. Maybe it's not to a realistic degree. Like I think live action definitely has its perks, but it's also kind of a niche thing, whereas I think animation can do that while still having the broad range to apply to most matchups on average, like the SpongeBob or a Gumball or a Flowey or an Am, whereas live action, while maybe better with that expressiveness, doesn't have that range. So I think PNGs are just more accessible to the average creator, and I think animation on average looks better.
All right, that wraps up topic 4. Okay, let me set up the poll for that. All right. Bang. All right, and then we have one final topic for the night. Okay, I think I should do it like this instead, just so it cuts evenly. There we go. Okay, this is our final. Wow, you are like clearing.
I was pretty good in that. I can't lie.
Yeah, I will say, now that we're done,
Yeah.
now that we can't influence, I will say, you're saying like it's disingenuous to say the great planning thing. I'm saying the great planning thing applies to every medium.
I mean,
I think
yeah.
that's a mute. I think the idea that like mistakes and issues can happen is relatively mute in the sense
Absolutely.
that I think to an extent it applies to every medium.
Yeah.
I will concede on the idea that I do think en masse, it is easier to rectify those issues if you're doing it with a different medium than PNG. But I do think if you make that kind of mistake in animation, that's an even, I would argue, bigger cost, or maybe like can be more difficult than live action. In that like it might be one shot with live action, but I think on animation, poor planning, I think, at least in my experience, and I think you know what I'm referring to when I say that, like the project I'm referring to, that is like a very like it can really like bite you.
I
in the
don't,
ass,
but I feel like I can kind of see what you mean. I mean, yeah, I guess it just depends on the flaw we're talking about.
Yeah, it depends on what the actual issue.
Because I think like a comparable thing to like fucking up a shot in live action is like making like an animation thing that looks weird. And it just means you reanimate it, which I mean that's a lot of time too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, excuse me, but I mean I think they can be equal. Like I think if it's something like structurally, like you just cast the wrong person to do it. Like, I think that has equivalent of live action of, like, oh, you just have a bad costume. Or
Yeah,
like
yeah, definitely.
So I don't know, I don't think there's really an equivalent, like,
I think there are all definitely kind of issues that apply to all of them. I do still, I mean, yeah, I'm going to stand by my, I mean, obviously, I argued it. I'm going to stand by my point that I think, speaking overall, I think the results of live action, which is what I really want to focus on, is the best thing that you can do.
And look, I love live action, and
yeah.
I think people underrate just how much like just an actor that's like expressive and like in the role can do for a project, and I don't want to discount that, but I just think it's very case by case, and I think on average, the medium you choose, I think you cannot divorce it from how accessible and how applicable it is to like most matchups. Whereas I think, it's a lot easier and it's a lot less weird to do like a PNG version of a live action thing, like than like an animated version of a live action, than like a live action version of like an animated thing. And I think that's something to consider.
All right.
I see your point.
Last topic. Okay. We both done 2-2. I guess let's go back to the coin.
Okay.
You want to be heads or tails?
I'll be heads.
Okay. All right, tails.
I was kind of wanting you to go first.
Okay, great. Okay, so our final topic for the night is that we should have a definitive dream battle. You are for it. Yeah. I'm against it. Okay. And 5 minutes starts now. No, we don't! Oh my god, why the hell do we need one? I mean, okay, let's earnestly talk about this, because there's two ways you can either look at this, and there's two ways that you can look at this, and I think either way, it's not really worth it either way. Let's look at it from the most obvious angle possible. Does Dream even need a definitive battle to start with? No! I think that there are, like, I do understand the argument that there are certain people and I even think content creators. Because I think it's unfair to argue with like, oh, we should have a definitive Mario battle, and I don't think we need to hold Dream to the same standards. I get that, but even arguing from a perspective of, let's talk about definitive YouTuber battles. Does Dream, I think, even necessarily need one? I would say no. I think it's the kind of thing where during the time when he's popular, I think that there is certainly definitely a popularity and a ride with that. It's such as the thing with a lot of the time in the community, if you've been following for a long time, you'll sort of notice that there's sort of eras where certain characters and series and things in general are very popularized. During that era of sort of 2021, 2022, you have a lot of things where it's like your Waldos, your DD Coopers, your Max Headroom incidents, all that, and Dream certainly all fit in that crowd of just like things that were just very popular during that time to make a battle with for one reason or another. And to that effect, I think that what Dream brings to the table, I do argue, is probably better. I think if you're arguing from like, can there be a definitive Dream battle? I actually do think you could, but I just don't think that it is something that will like have much of a purpose, especially this far sort of removed from everything, especially with like how everything is gone. I'm not even arguing that like you can't address all that, which gets to my second sort of viewpoint on this, which is that like even if we're saying that like let's make one more dream battle that it can encompass everything better than the other ones. I just don't really see the argument that it will do much to do it, because I've already think that a lot of the angles that you can take with Dream have been done in one way or another. I do think that for the most part, a lot of rap battles will sort of play him as a straight man. And I think now, if you were to try to make something that plays more into a personality for him, I certainly could see the right creator doing that. I do not want to argue that you cannot do it. That there's no point in that there's like, it's impossible to make a definitive Dream battle. But I do want to argue from the point of just what is the actual purpose sort of behind it. Because when we talk about creating a definitive project for something, it usually means having a purposeful sort of focus and effect on that. Like, I would say that something, like, just because something is a definitive, like, just because something is a very big project doesn't make it inherently definitive for something. I'll use you as an example of something like Maya Fey versus Kyoko.
Yeah.
I think that is a very, like, it's meant to be a very big sort of almost definitive project for someone like Maya Fey, but just because Maya Fey's because it's versus Kyoko doesn't inherently make it a definitive Kyoko battle.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely something different you can do with the character. And by that logic, while you can make a battle that is very big and definitive for one character, I don't know if you can necessarily, and usually when something is made like that, I don't know if it applies both ways. As in, I just don't know many battles that are definitive for both of their characters, essentially. I think the only example coming to my head right now is something like Mario versus Link, and that's like a very intensive project, essentially. It takes a lot of emphasis and focus to try to do that. But I just don't see that kind of thing being applicable to Dream as a character, as a creator, as a subject for something like this. I think that doing something like this inherently plays into the idea of sort of creativity and what you can do about it. Like, again, I'm not arguing that it's even necessarily impossible, but to the extent that it is possible, what needs to be done to sort of achieve it, to me, provides not enough, I think, not enough value on it. Whereas, like, I just don't see the idea that doing a definitive Dream battle has any notable effect on it. From pretty much any perspective you can look at, the idea and the prospect of a definitive Dream battle is outdated, whether it's just on the point of information, because he's alive, at least at the time of us doing the stream, he's alive. He might just still continue to be relevant, but it's also just outdated in the sense of what the community does and is. All right.
Interesting.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, and your 5 minutes starts now.
Do you know how many people, how many lives that we as a human race have had to lose in the pursuit of progress?
Yeah.
Too many. And you know what? Those lives, we can look at it and say, you know, it's very tragic that they died, but at least it led to something, you know? But what we have as a community, because we are a conjoined community, we are not a conglomerate of separate entities. At the end of the day, what one person does affects the other. We have a lot of the same fans. We are a community, and we thrive off of connection and, you know, building off what the other people do. You know what would be what would be the most embarrassing outcome for us? To have triple, quadruple, quintuple, how many ever duple dipped into making Dream battles and not have one be definitive. Do you know how embarrassing that is for us as a community? Now, I'm not a Dream fan. I'm not speaking from a place of passion for Dream, but I'm speaking out of a place of passion for us. What is even the point at that point? Because now we just look like we failed, and we could do it. We could easily do it. Someone could easily just make a definitive one. He's very easy to make fun of. He's very easy to make a good battle with. It's just every other attempt, including in my opinion, Dream versus Nagito, gets lost in its own hubris and its own sort of like unrefined writing style at the time to really give it like the proper tone and attention it needs. Yes, it's outdated, but the rap battle community is infinite. People make rap battles with Annoying Orange, they make rap battles with Smosh, they make rap battles with the Max Headroom incident, they make rap battles with anything. And I think there's not really a time capsule, because whether or not something is dated, I mean, people make rap battles with Morbius, for Christ's sake. People will make rap battles with anything, and I don't think that should be the only thing we judge it by, whether or not we need it right now. Because right now that is a ghost, and it is a ghost that will continue to haunt us until someone lets the goddamn sleeping dog lie. Because what's gonna happen if someone that's not equipped to handle it just, okay, we're gonna make the definitive one, that's it, we're gonna get more. We're gonna get more dream battles by someone who's like, I'm gonna do it. And it's gonna be not as good. And then there's gonna be a wave. There's gonna be a wave of people like there was with like Waldo or like Max Headroom Incident or Scott the Woz, where we're gonna get like 1 billion battles that aren't that good. And we're gonna get tired of it again if no one puts the goddamn sleeping dog to rest. And look, you argue we don't need a definitive battle for Dream, but we don't need a definitive battle for anyone. That's a myth. That's just, people are like, oh, I love this thing and I just want it. But like even times we thought there was a definitive battle, like look at DDLC. It was like Monica versus Harley, then it was Monica versus Light, then it was like, people went on, and then people were like, oh, it's Noelle versus Sayori, and now there's like 1 billion that everyone thinks is good for their own reasons, And it never served a purpose then either, At the end of the day, these are all hubris projects anyways. These are all just validation projects to be like, I made the coolest battle with so-and-so. And then, someone can always come along and redo it anyway, so being the definitive anything, it doesn't really matter. I mean, Ryan has the best Nagito battle, and it's not even definitive. It's just a Nagito battle. That's just a fun Smiling Friends bit. And it's the best one, because it's fun. So I think when we argue about the purpose of a definitive dream battle in terms of, like, the cultural legacy of, oh, is it, what will it do for us? Well, what does any of this shit do for any of us? At the end of the day, a definitive dream project, if it was really a project that we all went, oh yeah, this is the definitive dream project, that means it was a project that was good. That means it was a project we all liked. And at the end of the day, if we really boil it down past the controversial titles, what this is saying is we should have another definitive battle of something, aka we should have another really good battle of something. And then why would you say no to that? Like, I want another good battle. If it's a bad battle with Dream, I don't want to see it. But at the end of the day, there's no harm in just another good battle. If that's something someone wants to make, it would be nice to have. It would be awesome to have. And it would be great to just let it lie. Because otherwise, we're going to be the community that tried to use Dream, of all people, over and over and over and over again, and just never stick the landing, even though we could. And that's just embarrassing for all of us, even people that haven't made dream battles. It's just like, why? Now I'm part of the community that I'm attached to this, and it's just a matter, we need to have some goddamn integrity and some respect as a community, and, finish our business. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alright, is that your time? Are you good?
Oh, good. Yeah.
You have 5 seconds.
Yeah, no. Also, no, mine's gonna be better, but it's not out yet, so I can't count it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're talking about the wobbly Nagito thing.
Yeah, the Nagito thing.
Yeah,
it'll be better, but...
So that gets into... Alright, so that's our first round. So I'll start my time for the rebuttal now. And start. What do you think hubris is? What do you think it does to a man, do you think that the mouse doesn't see the trap? Do you think the mouse is blind to the trap that it walks into? No, it thinks it's faster than the trap. And you know what? Mouse traps wouldn't exist if they were right. I think that this is a trap that we're walking into. I think that maybe you are right, that the idea of a definitive battle is a trap, and yet why do we keep walking into the trap then? If that's the idea, then we shouldn't have a definitive battle of anything then. It is a fool's errand to pretend that you cannot be topped. I think I do believe in what you're saying. Throughout the history of this community, we've continuously been sort of re-upped. You can even take DDLC as such an easy example for this, because I think you are right. DDLC battles continue to reinvent the wheel somehow. And look where we are now, essentially. even like everything, there are so many options for what can be considered the definitive DLC battle. It can be a big story battle, or it can just be something simpler. I've heard, and I to even some extent agree, that something as simple as Monica versus Junko by Michael Starr can be the definitive Monica battle because it does it in such a succinct and simple nature. But that's the trick, essentially. Not only is it so hard to create a definitive project of something, you're choosing to do it with Dream of all people. I could understand the magic behind doing something like a definitive Mario or Monica battle, because with Mario, that's a character with such an expansive history. And with Monica, it's such a character that speaks to such an interesting and very nuanced conversation about what characters mean in media. And to that extent, like I said, as much as it is a trick and a trap to try to create a definitive battle for characters, it's so much clearer with Dream. That's my time.
Okay, let's go.
Alright, go ahead.
First of all, I just want to say, I don't think the character matters. I think people in chat and in general, they like to do the whole, like, oh, not Dream, oh, Dream, he's so awful, like, and I don't disagree. Like, obviously, I'm not a Dream fan, but, like, this is the rap battle community. One of your best projects is with Elon Musk, and everyone likes that. They love that battle, and I love that battle. It's a great battle. And if someone said, like, but like if like 2 years ago, if we had this debate and like, oh, we should have like a definitive Elon Musk battle, you'd be sitting here being like, no, we shouldn't have a definitive Elon Musk battle. It's Elon Musk. We shouldn't. But the world is much better because you did make one, and I'd say it's definitive. I mean, maybe there's more you could talk about, but like it gets it well. It's very entertaining. It covers it, and like since the dawn of ERB. Rap battles have always been using controversial figures with nothing and, like, making jokes about it. I mean, the first one had Bill O'Reilly. Like, that's what rap battles were built on. And the second was Hitler. Like, that is just, like, using controversial people that people like to be like, ah, not this guy. That's just what the genre's built upon. And now the characters have, on average, become more likable. But that doesn't detract from the fact that a Dream battle, it really wouldn't be that bad. And also, you are arguing that, like, I think if the question was, we should try and go for a definitive Dream battle, that's how it was worded. Maybe what you're saying would make more sense, but but the question is, we should have a definitive Dream battle, implying that, like, we should have, like, it already exists, it's here, and we acknowledge it, it's definitive, which implies that it's good, implies that the mouse was too fast for the trap, and we made something definitive and cool. And that's impossible to do, and I think you can do it without taking Dream so seriously. You don't need to make it a passion project about Dream. You can make it a satire or whatever, but I don't think the world would be worse off for it. I think, if anything, I say we should, because it's just another definitive battle of something that just implies it's really good, and we could just go to it.
Alright, time's up.
There's a sentence.
Yes, yeah, a sentence. Okay, that's your two. So this is, I think, my last turn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think that about does that. All right, so let me make sure I'm good here. I think you're stupid and dense, dude. You're trying to get at this idea. It's not even what I'm talking about. He's misrepresenting me here. The reason I think it's a trap is not because he's this it's not even necessarily because he's this horrible person. The Elon argument doesn't apply here, because why the issue with the definitive Dream battle being the trap is not in the horribleness of the character of Dream here. It's in the fact that you're walking into a hollow, like, room and ask it and like being like, wow, you know, there's so much I can do here. To an extent, I'm sure you could entertain yourself. You could run circles till you go mad in there. But the idea at the core of it is that we're talking about something that is so, like, again, Dream is, I think, such a point in it, in that, like, the idea that, like, I'm not even trying to argue that it's impossible. The point to argue is not whether it's impossible or not, but like you said, rather that do we need one? And if it's one that is existing, like you said, it can be something first off, I don't think it can be something that exists with Dream. We can agree on that. I think that a lot of what's happened with Dream, after a lot of the most popular Dream battles, are like stuff that we haven't covered. There's a lot that can be done after the fact. But at such a point now, there's so little to, like, the way that can be incorporated, I think, into a battle is so narrow and so close that I think you're sacrificing something that is like, you're not going to put these guys, I feel like it's a waste to do it. It doesn't matter what you essentially do with it. It doesn't matter what it is. I think you're making something that's like, I mean, you know, you can put them against anyone, like some Superman, some Mickey Mouse, some Darth Vader, some anything that, like, you're just really, what's the point? What are you creating by what are you doing by making and creating a definitive dream battle? Because I just don't see the inherent idea behind the use of one. Okay, that's my time. I think so. You have one left, and then I think we're done after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're good. All right. Do you think you're like ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah. I'm gonna just take a quick drink of water.
Okay. Here's my water. I'll take one too.
Yeah. We're gonna see. Is there? Do you need a refill?
No, I got it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine. We're almost done.
Okay, go ahead, yeah. Alright, go ahead.
Again, sir, for one, I do not appreciate your comment calling me dumb and dense. I detest that. Second of all, I must reiterate, what is the purpose of a definitive battle for anything? There isn't. There's no purpose for any rap battle ever. It's just entertainment on YouTube that you watch and you're moved by or whatever. And I think it's limitless to say that, like, you can have nothing to say about Dream or, like, there's no, like, I mean, I'm not saying that you're saying that, but you're saying, like, well, what would be the purpose of, like, putting your time and energy into this? Well, maybe someone has something to say. Maybe someone is genuinely, like, interested in the drama or whatever. Like, it's not unheard of. A lot of internet figures are the subject of these, like, rap battles that, like, make fun of them. And, like, and it's not just out of, like, a, you know, blind clown thing. A lot of people do have interest in the drama, in what, you know, this internet figure represents. And it's like, you're saying this now because you are thinking about this from the perspective that right now it would be weird to do because, like, in your mind the time's passed and there, you know, like, it would just be a waste of time or whatever. But a lot of the community is run on nostalgia, and just because maybe that it would be feel a bit dated now, does not mean that in, like, you know, 5 to 10 years, that there can't be another one. I mean, Bill Cipher used to be used, like, over and over, and people got exhausted of Bill Cipher. Took a break, people kind of stopped using him, and now, like, Bill Cipher versus Jevil came out, Bill Cipher versus Flowey came out. People love both of those. They love those battles, and, you know, the wave of exhaustion that happened in that middle area of the community, doesn't matter. Just you are being a prisoner of the moment because you now don't see it. But just because just now it may not be relevant doesn't mean that in the future someone moved by the nostalgia of it or time removed from it can't look at that and have something of value to contribute. Because at the end of the day, it would just be one more good battle. And that's really what I'm trying to say. Regardless, the character choice is not that bad or useless more than any other character to warrant not being made when it would just be good.
He's done full Cipher, damn it!
This dude, instant loss, disqualified. I just got to.
Alright, guys, that's gonna wrap up debate night. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Not doing a poll?
No, you know what? I don't think it matters. Yeah,
I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Yeah, you know. Okay.
God,
I think I need to. Yeah. I mean. I think that's all. Yeah, that was our last topic.
Yeah, that was our last topic.
We're out here now. So, let me set up the poll really quick, and then that's sort of gonna wrap that up.
Hello, Angie. Yeah,
hi, Angie.
Yeah, we aren't finished.
Yeah, this is like the end of the stream essentially. We've been going for like 2 hours, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I think we
did good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope people found this like insightful. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the idea. I think there's a lot of like really interesting. Let me start the poll actually. I think there's a lot of like really interesting and exciting conversations to have about these kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think like these we are like simplifying some of them for the sake of this conversation. But I do think there's like a point to be made about sort of how much, you know, it plays into things. Because I think there's a lot of interesting conversations to have about sort of what these topics are, how they relate to like the larger community. And sort of like the nature of the content that we make and sort of the meta nature of things. And I think it's very interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, I love rap battles. I just love
For sure,
talking
absolutely.
about them, like, in, you know, the intricateness of it and like all the details of it. Yeah, I mean, I always have fun with debates like this, even if they're low stakes. And I'm glad it's fun to do it live and like have an audience and stuff,
sure,
like contribute to it. It's very fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I think you won that. It's very close though, but I think you won that. I think. Yeah.
That's surprising to me. I'm
honestly surprised that it's as close as it is. I do think that people seem pretty split on this.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting for topics like this. Yeah.
For a topic like this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think this is our closest split yet.
Yeah, I literally, like, for the rest of them, I had an idea of what I was gonna say. This one, I literally left it up to like when the moment happens.
Yeah, same here.
I'm just gonna make shit up.
I don't have a single bullet point right now for this. It was just completely riffing off each other.
I thought I was gonna completely choke and like have to do bits, but I think
no.
I pulled something good at.
No. I'm glad we didn't do bits though.
Yeah.
That would have been bad if we had to do like jokes in the middle of this.
It was jokey, but it was like
No. There's no bits.
It was a good
like,
tone.
Yeah. We just did it honestly.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna say you won that. You know.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the last one. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in and joining us on this debate stream. I think this is the last like stream thing we're doing.
Yeah.
This and the other one are the only streams we did here. For that. I don't know. I guess if we end up finding time, we can. I don't want to promise anything.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to.
I'd be down. I love streaming.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against doing one more reaction stream back on Just Gamer, but no promises essentially. If people have ideas for a shorter stream we could do that, it's like something else.
Yeah.
Obviously feel free to sort of suggest all that. Anyways. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up for us here. We have other stuff we want to do. We have at least one more video idea. Reminder for those of you who haven't done so. I have a Twitter post on on my Twitter. That's like opinions, and we'll be recording a video, not a stream, of us discussing those opinions. So feel free to go to the Just Gamer Twitter, respond to my most recent posts. For your like rap battle opinions, stuff like what we were talking about today, and we will respond to those in a video.
Oh,
yeah. So I hope you guys sort of enjoy it. Maybe a Q&A stream could be.
That could be fun.
The Q&A stream could be a good idea. Yeah, for sure.
Debate It's Nugget.
Who's that?
You don't know who It's Nugget is?
No.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess I don't. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in, everyone. Walmart. Yo, shout out some Walmart. That was fun.
Yeah.
Walmart. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you another time.
Yeah. See ya.
Goodbye, everyone.